But that is not for the entirety of the show. If you would like to see the entire show, you will have to come on over to Too Raw for TV to see the entirety of the show. And that is the number 2 Raw, the number 4 TV.tv. Again, that is the number 2 Raw, the number 4 TV.tv. And that is where you will see the entire show. The phone lines will also be opening. The number to call is 470-666-2194. Again, if you would like to call in to comment or add to the conversation in any way, the number to call in is 470-666-2194. And before I jump into tonight's topics, I just also would like to invite all of my viewers, if you would like to get one of the paid memberships that greatly helps the network. They're very, very affordable. You can just head on over to TooRawForTV.tv and check out the packages. Again, very, very affordable monthly prices. Your contributions are greatly appreciated. And with that being said, before I jump into the main topic of the night, I do just want to talk about a few things that have been in the headlines over the past week or so. And the one thing that I did want to spend a few minutes talking about is the $2,000 checks that Trump says that he'll be issuing from all of the money that they are getting from tariffs. And that has a lot of people talking all over social media. There are people talking about it. When are we going to get these checks? Are they actually going to come? Is he just telling the truth? Is this just another one of Trump's, attention-seeking gimmicks? But according to Trump, the check should be, being sent out sometime. I believe the last headline I seen, it said March of 2026, around that time is when the $2,000, I guess, rebate checks or whatever they're supposed to be will be being distributed. There's a lot of people, of course, the Trump hate train is in full, motion. And a lot of people are saying this is another one of his gimmicks. We're not going to see that money. But, I don't know. I know that there's quite a few people that will really benefit from getting that $2,000 check. So I hope that he will keep his word and see to it that those checks are sent out because, inflation, although it's lowered from what it was during the Biden administration, is still quite high. A lot of people are still paying astronomical prices for their day-to-day basic necessities. We can all feel the pinch: gas, groceries, utilities, you name it, rent, mortgage, everything is sky high. So, people could use a little bit of relief. That check could help people pay down some bills or, do other things that they may need assistance with financially. So again, hopefully he will send out the checks as he is stating that he is going to do sometime next year. But again, there's lots of people that have absolutely no confidence and no faith in the fact that this is going to actually happen. But again, it's just one of those things that we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And like I said, hopefully he will follow through with what he is proposing and people will get, just a little bit of financial relief with receiving those checks. Again, it is yet to be seen, but hopefully it will happen. So Elon Musk's father, I believe his name is Elon Musk. He's been in the headlines and a lot of people have been talking about his comments that he made regarding America. And they're from South Africa. But for some reason, people are always hyper focused on America, as if America is the only nation that exists in the world. And I've always found that to be quite weird. But anyway, he sat down in an interview And he shared his thoughts on, what he thinks America will be if it becomes a minority white nation. And this is something that is discussed kind of often on social media. I'm not on all social media platforms, but I'm on Facebook quite often. And this is a conversation that does happen quite often. I guess there's some sort of fear among certain people in the white community that the white population is dwindling. They believe within the next, 10 years or so, this country will be a minority white country. It is of my personal belief that this country is already a minority white country, because when you think about the number of people who identify as white, who are not necessarily Anglo-Saxons, when we talk about the Anglo-Saxon white population, I think that they're already in the minority. But, I'm not going to dispute those numbers. That's my personal belief. Again, I don't feel like black people are 13% of the population. I don't understand how we have absolutely no growth after all this time. So that's another thing that I don't believe as well. I think the black population is a lot higher than 13%. But again, I'm not here to argue the numbers. These are my beliefs, and I don't think that I'm wrong. But anyway, I'm in and out of comment sections and things like that. And I see this conversation happening quite often, where there is some sort of fear among certain white people that they're going to be in the minority in this nation, over the next decade or so. And, I don't know what a difference that's going to make. I guess because we do live under a system that is heavily controlled by a power structure that is predominantly white. That is not a derogatory statement. That's something that's just simply a statement of fact. When you look at our governing bodies in this country, they are majority white. Majority of our Congress members are white. A lot of people in our government, they're white. So, when you think about the power structure in this country, it is majority white. And I think that the fear that comes along with these individuals feeling like they're going to be the minority is that they will lose that power. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, because I don't know what other reason they would be so hyper-focused on their numbers. There's also this sort of fear that if they become the minority, I have heard people say this too, they fear that there will be some type of retribution against them for, what has happened to primarily black people, but other groups of minorities in this country, primarily black people. They feel like black people will seek some type of revenge against them. And I can't speak for every black person, but I know me, myself, and, other people I know, seeking revenge is the last thing that is on our minds. We don't sit around within our circles talking about seeking revenge against white people. I think that is I think that's an irrational fear that they have. For the most part, black people kind of just want to be left alone for us to be able to, reach our full potential in life. We don't want to be discriminated against. That's something that we still have to deal with on a daily basis. We have to deal with this, covert discrimination that is still happening to us to this very day. So again, I think that their fear of retribution against them is irrational. The average black person is not even thinking about white people like that. So it's really just a false sense of importance, if you ask me. No one's thinking, well, like I said, I can't speak for everyone, But I think that, I can speak for a lot of people when I say that's not what we're thinking about. We really just want to be left alone. But anyway, Elon Musk's father, he sat down in an interview. Again, he's a South African, so I'm not sure why he's so concerned about America to begin with. But I guess with America being the headquarters of white supremacy, maybe that's why they're so hyper-focused on it. But again, I'm going to go ahead and roll a clip of, the interview, a short clip where he was speaking about, his thoughts on what he thinks will happen if America becomes a minority white population.
With some radios to
That's
obviously
Elon
connect.
Musk. Where's Elon Musk?
In its history, a minority. The big concern at the moment, and why I think South Africa is a big talking point in the US right now, is America in the next 20 years will become, for the first time in its history, a minority white country.
Well, that will be a very, very bad thing to happen. You want to see the US go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars and electric cars, and you don't like technology, or what is it? You want to go back to the jungle, or?
If the US becomes a minority white country.
Yes.
So there's Latinas, there's blacks, there's people from all different races make up the majority, and then, it could be 48% white people. Do you really think the US is doomed if it goes under?
Yes, it goes under then.
Seriously?
Yes, of course. You see, if you take South Africa, we have a small white population that projects the European culture, or what we learned from Europe.
And oppressed millions of black people.
No.
For decades.
How do you oppress? We gave them work, we fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a massive group. That's not oppression, that's feeding them. Do you understand? You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800 and become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. Enough with this nonsense.
But so you understand, because the black population was so oppressed under apartheid.
Well, we never saw this oppression you're talking about.
You never saw it.
No, I never saw it.
Yeah, because you're white. The big concern at the moment, and why I think South Africa is
I think the host of that interview was quite flabbergasted by those comments. I used to watch a show called The Jedi Speaks, and I don't know what happened to this brother, but I watched his show for a couple of years, and YouTube kept banning his channel, so I guess he just gave up on the show altogether. But he would always say, he would say a lot of things. He would start his show off saying the white man is the devil. That's the way he would start his show. But he would also say that these people, for the most part, are not agreeable people. And when you have someone of Elon Musk's age group saying that he didn't see the apartheid and the oppression in South Africa, for one, he's lying. And the fact that he would say that is just utterly absurd. Who does he think actually believes that he didn't see the oppression in South Africa? He didn't experience it because like the host said, you're a white man. You weren't dealing with the oppression that was involved in apartheid. So it's very easy for you to call it nonsense and just brush it to the side and make it seem like it was no big deal because it wasn't affecting you in the way that it was affecting the black population. So, you know, my thing is, how do you coexist with people that have that sort of mindset? To where the host, you know, a few times he brought up the amount of oppression that the black population face, you know, having to be among these people. And, you know, this man literally minimized oppression, colonization, all of these, you know, horrendous things that happened to the black population in South Africa. And as it relates to the United States, he's pretty much saying that if America becomes a minority white nation, we'll basically descend back into what, the Dark Ages? Because he's saying, what, do you want to go back to the jungle? Which is a racist statement within itself. Every time they bring up the jungle, you know they're talking about black people.
And social media. And social media.
Okay, so if you're watching on any of the other platforms, you know, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, those platforms will be ending here. So you're going to have to come on over to 2rawfortv.tv to see the remainder of the show. And that is the number 2, Raw, the number 4, TV.tv. And that is where you will see the remainder of the show. So please come on over and make that transition and join us on 2 Raw for TV. Now, as I was saying, you have I can't pronounce his name. I think it's Errol Musk, sitting here and making it seem as if America would not be able to function without a majority white population. And I don't know if he's uneducated about America because, again, he's from South Africa. He's a European Boer. So he's probably the descendants of, well, not probably, he is a descendant of colonizers who colonized South Africa. So I don't know how familiar he is with American history, but to even